This is the hall kitchen of Stanley-Whitman House, a house that was built between 1709 and 1720 in Farmington, Connecticut. The hall kitchen was a combination of a family room, dining room, and kitchen for early Americans. You can see the hearth here is their stove. In the hearth, the women of the household would cook all the food that the family needed. On the left-hand side, you can see a black leather bucket that was filled with water and a small crock that was filled with sand. This is how the family would put out fires in case a spark hit the wooden floor. The fireplace is lined with locally quarried stone. The family had to cut down the trees to provide all the lumber they needed to keep the hearth going, both for cooking and also to keep the house warm. Early American families here in Farmington depended on the Farmington River for much of its food. It's where their crops were grown along the river, and they learned how to harvest the fish from the river, trout and salmon. On the shelves of the hall kitchen, you could see the dishes that they used for their cooking and for serving their meals. On the table are the foods that the family has harvested this fall. Harvest time is an important part of the early New England family's calendar year because they're gathering all the food they need for the long winter ahead and storing it in their root cellars. Let's take a look at what they're harvesting. Here you have cabbage, carrots, onions, parsnips, potatoes, and turnips. These are plants that the settlers planted in the gardens along the river. These foods will last a long time in the root cellar. Everybody had hens in their dooryard gardens to provide eggs, a good source of protein. Pumpkins were also an important source of food. Along with corn and beans, they constitute the three sisters. Bean, corn, and pumpkin are considered very important foods. Berries collected from the bogs in Massachusetts and in the woods here in Connecticut, like blueberries and cranberries, are a real treat. The wild turkey is a food that we associate with Thanksgiving. There were thousands of wild turkey in New England when the colonists first came here. Before the English colonists came to New England, there were no apple trees. The colonists brought apple seeds with them to plant trees so they could enjoy apples in their cooking, fresh apples, and apple cider. They also gathered grapes from the woods around their houses. You can see in the high chair a doll called a poppet. A poppet is a stuffed rag doll that mothers made for their children out of scraps of fabric that they had. Outside this door is the well, the only source of water for the family. There's no inside plumbing, no faucets, no pipes to bring water into the building. So every time you need water for cooking or for drinking, you have to get it from the well outside this door. On the wall, hanging is a yoke. A yoke helps you carry 2 heavy buckets of water from the well into the house. The corn grinder on the floor is a homemade tool, something that one of the children of the house would use to pound dried corn kernels into flour. The flour will be used to make corn cakes, cornbread, corn muffins, corn porridge. Somebody's been sewing in the chair by the window. You can only do sewing or reading during the day by a window to use the natural sunlight. Early American families did not have electricity, so no electric lights and no furnaces. They're depending on the fireplace for their fire and natural sunlight for their light. At night, they'll use candles and oil lamps to provide a little bit of light so they can gather around the fireplace together and read. The children can learn their lessons, and they can sing songs during these cold evenings. In early New England, Thanksgiving wasn't a holiday as we know it now. It was actually a day that occasionally the governor of these colonies would declare a day of Thanksgiving to give thanks for some special event. It might have been a good crop, or it might have been success in war, or it might have been the eradication of a disease that the settlers were fighting. These were occasional celebrations. But the settlers did celebrate them in the same way that we celebrate Thanksgiving now, by eating a wonderful meal with friends and family and celebrating how important family is to everyone. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy your time with family, enjoy a good meal, and be thankful for the things that you have.